Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to be reading some crazy Reddit confessions while playing in my new Minecraft world. You can play this in the background while you're doing a chore or trying to fall asleep. But yeah, this video should be a good one. Let's get right into the stories. The title of this story is I confess that I pretended to be my own neighbor for months and no one noticed. It all started when I moved alone to a new apartment and discovered that there was a WhatsApp group between neighbors. Since I didn't know anyone and wanted to avoid problems, noise, packages, parking, etc., I decided to join. The problem was that they accidentally added me twice with different numbers. I was using an old chip in a tablet and I had it turned on by mistake. Instead of leaving the group with one of the numbers, I decided to experiment. I named the other number Don Ernesto, a fictional character who is 72 years old, retired, a chess lover, and somewhat grumpy. Little by little, Don Ernesto began to become popular in the group. He gave advice, shared recipes, complained about small things, but with grace. He even once organized a chess afternoon in the park, which he obviously didn't attend, but everyone understood because of his fragile health. The problem was that I started getting too attached to the character. I would surprise myself by responding like him at 2 a.m. using sayings that I never used in real life. On one occasion, someone in the group called him the soul of the building. After 6 months, I pretended that Don Ernesto died. I posted a message from his number saying that he passed away peacefully, thanking everyone for their company. There were sad emojis. Someone even proposed naming the reading corner of the building after him. Now I live knowing that I faked the life and death of a person who never existed and who was perhaps loved more than me. Too weird? Maybe, but I had to get it off my chest. Thanks for reading. Alright, so this story is absolutely crazy. Like, the balls of this guy to do this, plus the creativity to make a fake character and pretend to be him, is insane. But yeah, I mean, this is just really a prime example of what happens if you dig yourself in too deep of a hole and you continue to lie. Good thing no one caught him, because if they did, that would be probably the most awkward encounter ever. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot of commentary on this one. I just thought it was funny. Wanted to read it for you guys, and let's get right into the next story. This next story's title is I faked liking sparkling water for 3 years and now I'm trapped. I'm 30 now, but when this started, I was around 27, during a phase where I was really trying hard to be one of those put together adults who meal preps, drink sparkling water, and have plants that aren't just slowly dying in the corner. So I bought a 12 pack of LaCroix because, that's what the cool, healthy people were drinking. First sip, it tasted like someone whispered the word fruit into a cup of TV static. Absolutely disgusting, but I had already posted it on my Instagram with the caption, New Addiction, LOL. And for any of you guys who don't know what LaCroix is, it's just a sparkling water brand, has slight flavoring, but it's pretty gross. This next part reads, and that was the beginning of my downfall. Friends started bringing LaCroix over when they visited. Coworkers stocked it in the fridge of the office because I liked it. My girlfriend, now fiance, thought it was cute how into sparkling water I was, so she bought me a Soda Stream for Christmas. I'm guessing Soda Stream's just a carbonated water maker, but I'm not exactly sure. This next part reads, now I'm in too deep. I've become the guy who nods thoughtfully while drinking what is essentially spicy sadness. I have flavors in my fridge with names like Pamplemousse and Limoncello, and I pretend like I can tell the difference. I can't. It all tastes like carbonated regret. Sometimes I just want a normal drink, but if I ever open a Gatorade, someone will say, whoa, no LaCroix today? And I'll just fake a laugh like, haha, gotta switch it up. Meanwhile, my soul is quietly screaming. Anyway, if you're young and reading this, never lie about your beverages. That stuff will haunt you. Thanks for listening to my story. This is the thing that always baffles me. Like, whenever someone says, I like sparkling water, I'm like, no, you don't. Sparkling water is the worst thing I have ever tasted. It is literally just fizzy water with no flavor. And I think people just want to have it so they can look fancy or sophisticated. And yeah, this guy really cooked him because he's pretending to like one of the most disgusting things on the planet. And now everyone in his office thinks that he likes it. Um, there's really no way out of this. Like, he really just became the LaCroix guy, and there's nothing you can do about it. But this sucks for him. I will read the next story for you guys now. This next story is titled, I Gaslit My College Library Out of Late Fees by Returning My Own Books. Back in college in the 2000s, one semester I took out several books for a big research project. This was back when internet research was not admissible and you needed to properly cite all of your sources. School and life got away from me and I forgot about them for a while. That was until the end of the semester when I got a late library dues bill in the mail. I think the fees were 25 cents per book per day, if not more, and I had at least 10 books over a month late. I didn't have any money, and if you had any outstanding library dues, you could not get your grades/transcript for the semester. I'm going to pause the story real quick because I was curious to see how much he would have owed based off what he said. So he owed 25 cents per book per day, and he had 10 books that were over a month late. So he's owing $2.50 a day over 30 days. So that would be right around $80. And I also adjusted that for inflation. So he owed $150 for his books being late, which is absolutely crazy. But I will continue reading the story for you guys now. This next part says, instead of sheepishly returning the books and paying the fines, I put the books in my backpack, smuggled them into the library, and returned them all to their correct places on the shelves. I then called the library the next day and questioned the validity of the letter regarding my overdue books. The librarian left me on hold for a few minutes and returned to the phone, apologizing to me that it seemed the books had in fact been returned. Library dues were erased and they didn't hold back my transcript. Honestly, very smart method on this guy. This was in the 2000s, so I'm pretty sure it was harder for them to, verify certain things. And yeah, you got away with saving 150 bucks. Some of y'all might say that this is not a good thing to do, and it's probably not, but it's pretty smart actually. But yeah, let's get into the next story. This story is titled Marrying for Money Sucks, and I do not recommend it. I married a 40-year-old when I was 19, started dating when I was 17. Okay, this is gonna be an interesting story because this is already really weird. Yes, it was gross, but that's what happened. The only reason he married me is because I was hot. The only reason I married him is because he had money. I actually do have other redeeming characteristics, but he married me because I was hot. I know this. Everyone knows this. It doesn't feel great, but I can deal with it. We've been married 20 years and have 4 kids. So we are stable and we have lots in common at this point, and we do love each other, but if I could go back and slap myself, I would. What nobody tells you, or they try and tell you, but you don't listen because you're a stupid teenager, is that marrying like this means you will owe him for everything, every single day. Not just romantically, but in every other matter in your life. The stuff you never imagined someone else trying to decide for you. And you don't just owe him for the money. It's a lot heavier than that. He'll never say it out loud, but you know the deal. Fundamentally unequal. He'll pull rank at the most random times, and it will make you feel like you're falling through the floor. I don't hate my life or anything. I accept that I made this bad decision, and I have to lie in it, but I wouldn't recommend it to anyone else. My oldest daughter is 2 years younger than I was when I met my husband, and I can't imagine. Okay, this story is actually pretty interesting because they're getting like, it's kind of like a double whammy effect because not only did she marry someone who has a significantly different situation financially, there also is a giant age gap. They literally started dating when she was 17 years old. So that would create a really weird dynamic. And I do have a few thoughts on this because where I'm from, funny enough, actually, a lot of people do get married really young, like this girl did at 19. And you have to think of like how stressful marriage can be potentially, and also how much of your younger years you're missing out by getting married earlier. And also now she's just locked in this situation for basically, I mean, they could get divorced obviously, but she's stuck in this situation basically for the rest of her life. I mean, they also do have kids, so that makes things a lot more complicated. But she said it creates like this really weird dynamic where she feels like she owes him, and also that he'll pull rank at the most random times. That's what she said, and that just sucks because if someone has leverage over you, so like if they're paying for your rent, like if your partner's paying for your rent, or they if you're reliant on them in any capacity, if you get in an argument with them, they can just take that away. And so I think that's kind of what she's saying here. And yeah, that would make me crash out as well because that would suck. Good thing is though, she said she doesn't hate her life or anything. Um, I guess it's probably more just not an ideal situation, but yeah, this is a an interesting one, especially because they started dating at 17. What is a 40-year-old doing with a 17-year-old? That's crazy. I think of how young 17 is compared to a grown 40-year-old. That's just weird. But yeah, that's all my thoughts for this story. Let's get into the next story. This story is titled I Once Lied on My CV. I Got the Job and Got Promoted. I lied on my CV and somehow convinced the world that I was a coding wizard. Now I'm stuck in a never ending cycle of Google searches and caffeine fueled coding sessions. This is when I regret it, and I do indeed. My browser history is a treasure trove of how to fix syntax errors and what does this error message mean. I learned to code on the job, which is just a fancy way of saying I'm making it up as I go along. My colleagues think I'm a genius, but really, I'm just good at hiding my panic. When they ask me to explain my code, I launch into a confident sounding, jargon filled monologue, hoping they'll get lost in the technical mumbo jumbo. The best part? I got a promotion and a raise, which basically translate to we're paying you more to keep pretending you're good at this. Okay, so this story is actually really interesting because I remember hearing someone kind of talking about this where they would either lie about their resume or they would inflate their resume. Um, because I remember someone saying someone had noticed that companies normally don't like really fact check your resume, or I mean, not all companies at least. And they also said that a lot of companies are slow to fire. So I heard one guy literally just got like 6 jobs and was doing a terrible job. And he was just able to have all those jobs because basically the companies wouldn't double check stuff. It's just kind of crazy. But um, yeah, the girl in the story literally just said she just used a lot of big words and jargon to make it sound like she knew what she was talking about. And it's crazy that actually not only did they give her the job, they also promoted her, which is just the craziest part. Actually reminds me because I can't lie. I used to do this in school all the time. Like in science class, I would always just use the biggest words for no reason whatsoever, and somehow I would always get a good grade. My answers would make no sense, but they sounded very smart. But yeah, this story is really funny. Let's get into the next story though. This story is written by a 20-year-old male and it's titled, I have been hiding tens of thousands of dollars from my parents for years. At the start of high school, I was pretty broke, as many high school kids are. To gain more freedom, I worked hard to start my career as a 3D artist, and I was making a couple hundred every few weeks at best during most of high school. Even with how little I made compared to how hard I worked, my mom and stepdad would pressure me to chip in for groceries and mortgage payments. Keep in mind, we aren't poor or anything, we were middle class, and they just wanted more financial freedom for themselves so they can consistently go on luxury vacations. I also have a few siblings now in the higher years of high school who they also do the bare minimum for. Not bad enough to where it's child neglect, but definitely not great parenting, considering none of us could focus on our studies while having to work. The creative industry is difficult and unforgiving, and I put blood, sweat, and tears into my work to get where I am at this age. I'm not going to let them pressure me into making any big contributions to their finances so that they can keep going on excessive vacationing sprees. Only me and my girlfriend know how much I really make. I have been saving tens of thousands of dollars without anyone else around me knowing. One day they'll find out how much I have, but for now, I will bide my time and take advantage of as little financial burden as possible. Once they do, I'll simply move out and be done with them. This person also adds a follow up at the end. It says, Edit. Thanks a lot for the advice and comments, everyone. Just to clarify, I do, of course, take care of my own expenses and my siblings, since I wouldn't want them to be overburdened like I was. I am not pitching into the household bills, though, because my parents don't deserve it. Okay, this story is actually like, there's a lot to unpack. But, like, first of all, shout out to this person for actually saving their money. This person's similar age to me, and I know being financially literate is not super common at this age, but I think it's a good idea to save the money just because you never know. I mean, I think AI is probably going to replace a lot of jobs within the next 10 years. He said he's a 3D artist, so he probably has a good amount of time for the foreseeable future, but definitely a good idea to keep that safe. Um, but yeah, this is just a weird situation with the parents expecting the kids, to chip in for like groceries and stuff, um, which is fine if they were lower class, but the person writing this said that they were middle class, so they could very easily at least cover expenses. They probably don't live the most lavish of lifestyles, but um, enough to support themselves comfortably. So it's weird that they ask for that. Plus, also, it doesn't sound like they're super involved parents. So that is definitely kind of sucky because you want to have a good relationship with your parents. Obviously, that is very desirable. So I guess yeah, keeping the income hidden from them, I think, is a good call. Um, this person is 20 though, and apparently they're still living with their parents. So I'm kind of interested to see what the parents' perspective is. I don't know if this is controversial for me to think this, but like this person is 20. And I know a lot of people do live with their parents at 20. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but any any extra time you're staying with your parents after you're 18, you're not really entitled to. And everything outside of that is just a blessing, right? Because your parents don't have to do that for you. And so I think for the parents, I don't think expecting some form of compensation after he turned 18, I don't think that's crazy. Um, but then again, I don't really know the entirety of the story. Um, this person does say they cover their own expenses. I think they probably mean um, like gas, car payments, food, stuff like that. But you are living at your parents' house rent free. So there's that there. But expecting money from a teenager, especially when this guy only made a few hundred every week. That's wrong. I don't like that at all. Um, but it sounds like the parents are also expecting his younger siblings to pay for stuff, which also I think is wrong. And it sounds like this guy that's writing the story says he also helps cover his siblings' expenses. He said the parents' expectations around them chipping in took away from him studying, and he didn't want the same thing to happen to the siblings, which I think is really good of him. Um, but yeah, I don't know. This story definitely I have mixed feelings on. I don't really know. I feel like I need a little more context to, you know, make a clear form a clear opinion. But yeah, that's all the stories I have for this video. Again, I am a small YouTuber, so if you guys could subscribe, that would mean the world to me. I do have more videos coming. Don't worry. I know I haven't uploaded in a while, but yeah, thank you guys for all watching.